Hey guys, I hope you're doing well and welcome back to my channel. So today's setup is a little bit different as I decided to get all cozy. I've actually got a blanket on me down here as I wanted to talk to you guys about some of my favourite games when you really want to when you're just in a super cozy mood. It could be raining outside, or you just want to snuggle down under a blanket, or perhaps you're just in the mood for a game to help bring some calming vibes, which I think we could all use right about now. And these are actually going to be games that are not either Animal Crossing like New Horizons or Stardew Valley, as I know they're both very much loved games and I adore them too, but I wanted to feature some games that perhaps weren't talked about so much, so you could, you know, discover new brands and new games that you might fall in love with. So I hope some of these games, you know, some of you guys might already really like them, and I hope I also introduce you to some new things too. I am going to be talking about both Switch and some 3DS games, as they are all Nintendo themed, which is my main kind of Nintendo games are the main thing that I play, obviously. And when I was kind of like thinking about filming this, I drafted up quite a long list, so I'm probably actually going to split this into two parts. So this is probably going to be part 1, and then part 2 will probably come a bit later, so because there are a couple of games coming out soon which I probably want to talk about, but I want to like play them a bit first. So getting straight into it, I have the 3DS games first, and the first one that I want to mention is one that I really think is so underrated, and that is Leightons Mystery Journal. Now, I am a massive fan of the Professor Layton series, and to be honest, the whole of the Layton series in general I think is a pretty like cozy game. Like, I'm massively into like puzzle and mystery games, so it's right up my street. And the Professor Layton games, they actually came out during some very difficult times of my life, and every year one was kind of like coming out for a few years, and I was in hospital a lot, so I'd always be playing them in there. And I love the themes and the music and just where they are set, because it's often like not in kind of like present day. So it's just very nice to kind of like lose yourself in that atmosphere and just almost be like taken back in time. And I just love the aesthetic, I love the characters, like it's just such a nice world. And honestly, like that in itself, you know, if you after a game like that, then Professor Layton is incredible. But I did specifically today want to talk about Layton's Mystery Journal, which is the spin-off that came out a few years ago. This is actually also on Switch now, but I own it on 3DS, so, and I just haven't seen a reason to get like the Switch one yet, but I might do later on. So this is about Layton's daughter, Catriel, and this kind of like follows in her footsteps, and it's not so much one like just kind of like one continuous story. There's lots of like little cases and stories. You can kind of like pick and choose what cases you want to solve, where you want to go, which I think is really nice. You're not kind of like, sometimes with kind of like RPGs and stuff like that, you kind of get sucked into playing for a while, and then, you know, you might not really be in the mood to play for that long, and you can't always stop and save. But this is really good because you can kind of like pick up the cases as and when you please, and it's got kind of like the same vibe. You can even like dress Katia up in some really cute outfits. It's got all of the like mini game features. It's basically just like Layton but with Catriel, and I think she's incredible. I love her, she's such a cool character, and I really hope we get some other kind of Layton games in the future because I really miss them. The next game that I absolutely adore, I adore this whole series, is the Star Boutique series. Now this is new Star Boutique 3, Starting Star. This is the most recent one that came out also a few years ago now. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of like the entire series. I've owned every single game. I've started playing it when the original came out on the DS, like, god, that was years ago now. And like, I think Star Boutique is just so underrated. Like, I really hope this comes to Switch. I'm like praying somehow. I know it's probably way too late, but yeah, basically Star Boutique is pretty self-explanatory. You basically run your own boutique and you just kind of like build it up from the ground, and every game kind of like has a slightly different theme. And this one focuses a lot more on like you can make your own designs, and you can do hair and makeup and for your clients, and there's like a whole like little story as well, which I actually really enjoyed. I actually quite enjoyed it. Normally these kinds of games don't have the best stories, but I found the characters quite enjoyable, and the writing is quite actually quirky and fun. So it's not like, the story itself is not awful, but like besides that, like the actual gameplay, I struggle to focus on a lot of games, but like I really love games where I can be really like creative, and I also love fashion. So like to have a game where I can like dress up my like clients, and I can stock the kinds of styles that I want to stock. And like the really cool thing about this game is it even has like Lolita brands, so it has like gothic Lolita and sweet Lolita brands, and that's kind of been in there from like this, like the very start. Like it's so cool. There's such a wide variety of like clothes. Like I said, you can do your clients' hair and makeup. Like it's just, yeah, the choices are endless, and for my brain that's really really good. And I just, yeah, it's just a really nice calming game. Like it doesn't really require too much from you, and you can just have fun giving people some new looks. And yeah, so if you're after a new kind of like fashion game, because I really think there's kind of like a big gap in the market for these kinds of like kids, you know, or this, there really isn't anything, and I really like games like this, and I hope we get something like this on the Switch in the future. And now we have the Switch games. So the first game I want to talk about is Rune Factory 4. So Rune Factory is kind of like a pretty long lasting series. It's been on many consoles, and we are actually awaiting Rune Factory 5 now, coming out. I think it's in May in Japan, so I really hope it comes to the West soon, because I'm really excited for this. Now this is a farming kind of like simulator RPG game, but it's a lot more kind of like, as you can tell, kawaii aesthetic. So if for some reason your normal farming sim doesn't just sometimes the graphics aren't all that enticing, and I try not to judge a game entirely by graphics, but sometimes, you know, that's just not completely your thing, and that's fine, and not everybody really likes the graphics of Stardew and stuff like that. So yeah, if you're into this much more kawaii art style like I am, then this is a really good step up from that. And it's got all your basic kind of like farming sim like kind of like traits, you know, you can grow crops, all that kind of stuff. You can even romance NPCs. Like it's really, I've not actually gotten that far into it, but I think that's a really cool feature too. And there is like a whole like story going through the whole game. Basically your character kind of like falls from like this hot air balloon, and you just basically have amnesia. So you've got to kind of like discover your past and all that stuff. You can even battle with enemies and stuff. Like, yeah, there's so much to do in this game, and I don't want to spoil it too much, but yeah, if you're into your farming sim stuff, but like you want like a good RPG side, then I really recommend Rune Factory 4. The next games that I think are really good games to play on like a good like rainy day, or even like just during the evening, are visual novels. Now visual novels are something I have got into the past few years. I first played X Malice on the PS Vita, and Otome games are something that really don't get talked about enough. They mainly started out on the Vita. There's so many, but like I said, X Malice is my favourite, and I actually have the unlimited version on the Switch now. I don't have the physical copy unfortunately to show you, but I have played a lot of that, and I highly recommend it. It's not the most like relaxing story, quote unquote. There are more, like I'm going to talk about now, more kind of like calming casual stories, but I really like it's very mysterious, and there's a lot of kind of like not detective work, yeah, you're kind of like part of the police force in Shinjuku, and you're basically trying to work out, you'll basically unwind the mystery of this criminal organization, which is making terrorist attacks in Shinjuku, and you've also got this kind of like collar on you which is sort of control, like, yeah, it's really cool, and I don't want to spoil it too much. So yeah, if you're into that kind of style, that kind of story, then X Malice is a really good visual novel to play. And like I said, yes, they mainly started out on the Vita, and unfortunately a lot of them are very hard to come by in terms of like an actual physical copy now, and also the PS Vita store is closing down soon. So yes, if you're after some, then I definitely recommend downloading a few now. I've got some others that I will be probably playing in the future, but a lot of them are coming to Switch and being like ported for Switch now, stuff which is amazing because quite a lot of them have been Japan exclusives. So it's really nice, and I have a couple that I want to talk about today. These came out at the end of last year. We have Pierre Foy Fated Memories, which I got for Christmas, and then Cafe Enchante, which I got for my birthday. Like I said, I find visual novels really nice to play, especially like before you're going to bed or something. Like if you don't feel like reading a book, or like reading like me isn't really your thing, then you can kind of do the same, but like kind of go through like a whole story but on your Switch and stuff. And yeah, it's really cool. Like if you go sit down in your bed with some fairy lights on, it's like a really cool atmosphere, and like they're pretty easy just to pick up and play however much that you want to play. And like, yeah, it's really nice to kind of like get sucked into like these kind of like different fantasy worlds. I'll just tell you a little bit about each one. Cafe Enchante, basically you inherit your grandfather's cafe and you discover kind of like a secret door, and then behind the door there's all like these just kind of like different magical like guys. Obviously they are otome games, so they're kind of aimed at girls because they have a lot of like cute guy characters in them, which I really like too. There's a lot of like romance to these games as well, which is something I also really like. So if you're into that too, then just trust me, like you will love them. Yeah, and so I haven't gotten to play too much of this yet, but you basically get to run your grandfather's cafe and then just kind of like discover life with all these like weird I'll try and show you the back, these weird mysterious being guys. Yeah, it's so cool, and I really need to try and play more of this. And then we also have Pierre Foy. I'm probably saying that wrong. Stephen corrects me all the time whenever I mention this. I'm like, this is a little bit kind of like a different genre. This has a bit of a different vibe to Cafe Enchante. You are having to navigate a world of organised crime in the city of Bologna. Basically 3 mafia families fight for the control of Bologna city, and you are somehow like in the middle of it all. And yeah, it's kind of like very dark and mysterious. You get what I'm trying to say. I'm very bad when like talking about games, so yes, this one is something that I also need to keep playing too. I mean, basically if you're a fan of any like visual novel or otome games, I don't really think you can hate any of them. But yeah, those 2 are ones that I highly recommend on Switch, and I think there are quite a few more on the eShop too, so I would also recommend taking a browse on there. And then last but not least, a game that I want to talk about is one that people may not necessarily think is like a cute and cozy game, because the graphics are not necessarily cute, and even I was like, I'm never gonna like this game ever. But it is The Elder Scrolls Skyrim. Now, The Elder Scrolls is a very long going series. I've never like seen anything before Skyrim, but my partner is massively into Skyrim. Like he's played it since it very first came out like 10 years ago, and like now it's on like PS4 and Switch, and he plays a lot of this on the Switch now. So I've seen so much of this game. I played a little bit myself, but like I've seen enough firsthand to know like so much about this game. Yeah, the most common thing I love about Skyrim is not only is it set in like a fantasy world, there's like dragons and all these like mysterious beings, and I think also because I've gotten into D&D, it kind of feels a lot like that, because it's kind of got like that medieval sort of theme. There's like dragons and all like the kind of races you'll find in D&D and stuff, but the music is just so ambient. Like I can't describe it. Like sometimes Stephen will be playing it in the mornings and I'm like sat on the floor doing my makeup and stuff, and like it's just so calming. And then sometimes he won't play Skyrim. I'm like, I play Skyrim, I love the music so much. Like, trust me, I could just sit and like listen to Skyrim music for like hours and hours. And the good thing is, like, you don't even have to engage in the story really if you don't want to, or like combat. You can just go off in like the woods. Like, the world is so big, you can just explore and do anything you want. You can like hunt stuff, you can make potions, just like forage. Like, there's just so much to do, and it's, yeah, it's just a nice like freeing game. It's very, obviously it isn't like an open world game. So yeah, you really not restricted to the story at all, which is really nice. I really like when the day and night cycles go around. Like, playing a night on it is like so cool because you look up and it's like stars in the sky. It's so pretty. So yeah, like Skyrim, I really recommend it if you're, you know, want some kind of open world game. We are, like, I'm trying to be a bit more open-minded to different games, and I know they're working on like the next one in the Elder Scrolls series, so I'm really excited to see that. So that was part 1 for my top cute and cozy games that are not Stardew or Animal Crossing. I hope you liked the games that I mentioned, and like I said, I will be doing part 2, so stay tuned for that in the future. And other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye!